Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night SmackDown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me over on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you are looking for our full review of this particular episode of Friday Night SmackDown, it's already up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we upload the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and a whole bunch of other videos and series that we can never upload here because they would just get blocked due to copyright. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. You already know. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, that's enough. Let's see what you guys sent in. This alliance is going to be awesome. The only issue I see is that SmackDown doesn't have enough top tier guys. I don't know who they could even feud with. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic here because I really like what they're doing with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. I am super intrigued in terms of what they're going to do next. But after Aleister's great feud with a former world champion in Damian Priest and this newfound alliance between these two, am I crazy to suggest that perhaps Aleister Black and Zelina Vega are good enough to bypass the mid-card and go after the remaining top tier guys like a Randy Orton? Or maybe, dare I suggest, going after the WWE Undisputed Championship and Cody Rhodes? Cody Rhodes versus Aleister Black would be a brand new, refreshing feud for the WWE Championship. It's clear that at some point they were planning on doing a brand new, refreshing feud between Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. We can still go down the road of getting a brand new, refreshing feud, even with Jacob Fatu out, by inserting the newly reinvigorated Aleister Black alongside his wife, Zelina Vega. I like it. I'm not even suggesting that Aleister Black should win the WWE Undisputed Championship, but there is a long time between now and WrestleMania. I think that Aleister Black and Cody Rhodes would deeply benefit from having a feud with one another so that Cody Rhodes doesn't feel like he's just spinning his wheels until the inevitable feud with Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and so that Aleister Black doesn't get his heat, doesn't get his momentum wasted that he has right now. So I agree that there aren't that many top tier guys, but I really think what they've done here with Aleister Black and Zelina Vega is good enough to go up against the top guys in SmackDown. Randy Orton could have potentially taken out Jacob Fatu. It seems too obvious to be Drew. It fully reminds me of the Jade storyline with how it seemed obvious that it was Liv. Yeah, I think at this point you have to be like 6 years old to assume that it was Drew McIntyre. It clearly wasn't. It's clear that that was a misdirection altogether and that there is a mystery assailant afoot somewhere lying in the shadows waiting to probably go after Cody Rhodes. It would be just too convenient for it to be Drew McIntyre, and maybe, again, I'm being overly optimistic, but WWE has been so damn good over the last couple of weeks that I don't think that good old ChatGPT, the best booker of the year, is going to go with the simple decision of it just being Drew McIntyre. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Randy Orton. We did see teeth on the ground. Maybe he got his teeth punted out. Maybe it was Aleister Black. I think that there are very intriguing options in terms of who it could have been. There's even people suggesting that it could have been Cody Rhodes. I think that all of those options that I just listed are significantly more interesting than it just being Drew McIntyre. AI is better than Road Dogg, and the last 2 episodes is proof of it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all stand and give a round of applause to the Booker of the Year, ChatGPT. WWE has been the best that it's been since 2023, since implementing good old ChatGPT in their booking. Obviously, I'm kidding. We don't know that WWE has yet to implement ChatGPT or any other sort of AI programming into their storytelling, but the news recently did break out that WWE intends to use AI in some capacity in their storytelling, in their video packages, in their graphics. We know that Def Rebel recently used it in their music, so it's inevitable that WWE is going to be using AI, so all of these jokes are already surfacing. If you do want some more details on that, watch yesterday's video, but I think that WWE has just been organically good, and it's just funny to give the credit to ChatGPT today. I screamed so loud when ILJA's music hit and was ready to accept the disqualification finish from MFT interference, but then I screamed even louder when he won the title. It's almost like he hasn't spent a second out of the squared circle, but put on a stellar performance with Sami Zayn. Welcome home, GOAT. What a pleasant surprise. Multiple pleasant surprises with ILJA Dragunov returning and winning the United United States Championship. The first one being the misdirection of us thinking it was going to be The Miz to answer the call for the US Open Challenge, only for him to be attacked by Carmelo Hayes, thus continuing to build that feud, which has been solid so far. And then the next music hits and it's ILJA freaking Dragunov. That's a pleasant surprise, number one. Pleasant surprise number two is ILJA Dragunov is somehow in better shape than he was before when he already was an elite athlete in the WWE. The third surprise is that he hasn't missed a single step, even though he had a potentially career-altering injury with his knee. And the fourth surprise is that they gave him the US title. Are you kidding me? This is why we love ChatGPT. WWE has been fantastic over the last 2 weeks, and this to me is one of the apexes of how good it's been. Having ILJA Dragunov return after a year hiatus and put on a damn near match of the year contender with Sami Zayn and actually win the championship and break the mold of WWE just ending these matches in some sort of disqualification with MFT. In fact, they even teased the MFT interference with Solo Sikoa going out there and then going, nah, I'm good. And then allowing this match to end properly and clean. Everything about this check was amazing. ILJA Dragunov, since his time in NXT UK, has been one of my favorite things that WWE has had. And for a long time, he was like one of WWE's best kept secrets. Even when he got called up to the main roster, he wasn't getting enough opportunities to the point where he still felt like the best kept secret that WWE has. And now it feels like WWE is finally unveiling their talent from all of these years in NXT and ILJA Dragunov to the world by having him return triumphantly and beat Sami Zayn in an unbelievable match in what is the end of a fantastic run for Sami Zayn as United States Champion. Like I said, everything about this was freaking amazing. WWE on Netflix is genuinely the greatest thing ever because I get Raw, NXT, SmackDown, every single WWE Premium Live event, and the giant catalog of old WWE shows with my one Netflix subscription. Unfortunately, that isn't the case for all of you because many of you are having to watch these shows on traditional cable or even on overpriced streaming services where you get peppered with lame commercials. And while you're on commercials, I get more of the WWE shows that I love. So let's fix that with today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. With Surfshark, you can easily change your location to, say, the Great White North of Canada. And with that, you'll be able to get Netflix programming from that region, which of course includes all of your favorite WWE shows without commercials. Plus, while you're there, you can actually catch some of the other shows that are exclusive to Canadian Netflix if you wanted to. You can also try Surfshark completely risk-free because of their 30-day money-back guarantee policy. But it gets even better because if you visit surfshark.com/SantiYT, you're going to get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan. By the way, Netflix has WWE programming for like the next 5 years, so a 2-year plan is something that you're going to get plenty of use out of. Again, that is surfshark.com/SantiYT to get 4 months extra on a 2-year plan. Thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get you back to talking about wrestling. Yeah, it might just be me and only me, myself, and I who thinks that this War Games would rule. Wyatt 6 versus MFTs is a very underrated shout for War Games, and I'm loving what they're doing so far. I'm still not entirely convinced that this is going to be the War Games match, but I like that they're doing multiple things with the MFTs. It does kind of feel like early day Judgment Day, where Judgment Day had multiple things going on the main roster, women's feuds, tag team feuds, world title feuds. It was great. And now they're doing it here with MFTs, having feuds for the tag titles with the Wyatt 6 and feuding with the entirety of the Sami Zayn cavalcade of the mid-card. It's fantastic. I also think it would be refreshing for this to be the men's War Games match because that means for the first time in a long time that Survivor Series War Games won't have all of its main eventers tied up into a tag team match. It will instead tie up tag teams in a big old tag team match, which opens up the possibility for a bunch of different matches for the main eventers that you know and love. So it's refreshing in multiple ways. It's a different type of Survivor Series War Games match, and it should by default give us a different type of card for Survivor Series War Games as well. That has been a complaint, and I think it's a fair one, of Survivor Series War Games. As fun as the men's War Games match and the women's War Games match have been, they typically tie up a lot of main events eventers. They usually tie up world champions. Last year's women's tied up both women's world champions on the same team, which does limit what you can do with the rest of the card. So if this is what they decide to do with men's war games, think of the possibilities of what they can do with the men's singles titles in the actual war games card. It's honestly really enticing. ILJA Dragunov winning the United States title in his first match back was the perfect decision. This man is one of the greatest active wrestlers on earth, and this shows that WWE knows it. Future WrestleMania main eventer right here. I couldn't agree more. Not only do I think it was the perfect decision, but it was just such a welcome change to what we come to expect from WWE when it comes to the usage of ILJA Dragunov. Before he left for his injury, he was just sort of middling, being used in mostly just tournaments or to make other people look good. So to break the mold by having a guy return after a long hiatus, win the title, but also elevating a guy that so many of us felt deserved significantly better in just one fell swoop, in one match, in his return, is such a nice, refreshing thing to see from the WWE. This was such an amazing way for ILJA Dragunov to make an instant impact, to remind the world of how absolutely damn good and talented he is. It's no longer just the good old NXT UK and NXT fans telling the world and screaming from the rooftops how good ILJA Dragunov is. Now it's WWE finally telling you on the main roster how good he is. I do feel that this made a star out of ILJA Dragunov, and it could have gone the complete opposite way. It could have just gone in the way of just like having a quiet return where it just ends in a disqualification and he chases the title for a long time, and when he finally wins, it's not as satisfying as we wanted it to be. But this was impactful, satisfying, and surprising. It was fantastic. ILJA looks in his best shape of his career. The new tattoo on the neck makes him look more scary. I hope he also does open challenges every week, and his title ends up with his NXT rival Carmelo Hayes versus ILJA for the US title. So I don't think that they're gonna continue the open challenge. I feel like the whole notion of the open challenge was special because Sami Zayn asked permission of John Cena to do it. I think it would be great if he continued it because the open challenge was actively the best thing going on Friday Night SmackDown, but I just don't think it will continue with ILJA Dragunov. I think that we're gonna see now a regular US championship reign. I think it'd be cool, but again, I just frankly don't see it. Like, they didn't continue the open challenges when Alberto Del Rio beat John Cena, and I just don't see it happening here either. Funnily enough, I do feel like if WWE continues down this road of being as good as it's been, it doesn't have to entirely rely on the US Open Challenge carrying its crappy show, because that was basically what was happening for a long time there with Sami Zayn. But SmackDown right now, again, fingers crossed, for the last couple of weeks has been so good, where if it continues down this road of it being as good as it's been thanks to ChatGPT, I don't think that it needs to rely on the US Open Challenge to be good. So I'm open to the idea of moving on from the US Open Challenge and just allowing ILJA Dragunov to have his regular reign. I hope he gets featured often and he doesn't get treated like Julia, who is a great talent, who is a champion that isn't really being utilized. But yes, you're right. Inevitably, we need to see Carmelo Hayes versus ILJA Dragunov. And I think that the big arc, the ending of Carmelo Hayes' story is to eventually beat ILJA Dragunov. It was ILJA Dragunov that ended his reign as NXT champion, and it is Carmelo Hayes who's trying to fight so hard to get out of the shadow of The Miz and get a chance at the US title. So I think this is a full circle moment for both of these guys. Lyra, Tiffy, Stephanie, Julia, Roxanne, Breaker, ILJA are all young talents who have gotten championship wins and big roles on the main roster. When is it gonna be Melo's turn? I think that right now Carmelo Hayes is a victim, for better or for worse, of the dreaded, sometimes loved Triple H long-term booking. I do believe that the end payoff of whatever is going on with Carmelo Hayes and The Miz is for Carmelo Hayes to win his first championship gold, likely against ILJA Dragunov, likely for the United States Championship. At least that's how I see it from the outside looking in. I can see the pieces connecting. I can see the Lego blocks, boom, 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 landing towards the initial ending of Carmelo Hayes being the United States champion. I think it's gonna happen, but I don't think it's gonna be the instant gratification like we've been getting recently. I think it's going to be that long-term build, but at the very least, unlike the Austin Theory stuff, we see the build of what's going on with Carmelo Hayes every single week. Every single week, he's getting TV time. So to me, that bodes well for the eventual eventual climax of his story being winning something. WWE currently has 3 champions with neck tattoos. That's right, neck tats are so hot right now. If you need me to list them off for you, we have ILJA Dragunov, Cody Rhodes, and now good old Dominic Mysterio. Maybe that's what Carmelo Hayes needs to do. Maybe he just needs to get a neck tattoo. Drew McIntyre deserves to win the WWE title. I love Cody, but I don't need another holding till Mania and losing at Mania reign. Okay, hands up. Everybody put your hands up if there was a moment where you actually believed that Drew McIntyre was gonna win the WWE Undisputed Championship on this episode of Friday Night SmackDown. I thought for a second that ChatGPT had gone completely crazy and booked the most insane stuff for this episode of Friday Night SmackDown because I didn't think that Drew McIntyre was gonna lose to a dude wrestling in dress shoes. Legit, I thought that Drew McIntyre was gonna somehow walk out as WWE Undisputed Champion. I thought that maybe Randy Orton would go out there and accidentally cost Cody Rhodes the match itself. I thought that there were many possibilities for Drew McIntyre to walk out as the champion. In fact, in my Twitch chat, we do a poll of who you think is gonna win. 80% of people actually picked Drew McIntyre to win this match, so I know it wasn't just me. I think that we are a stone's throw away. I think it's right there. I think that it's actually possible that at Saturday night's main event, Drew McIntyre wins the WWE Championship. But damn it, I did this to myself going into WrestlePalooza as well, and I know I'm going to be heartbroken at some point. But yes, Drew McIntyre deserves the WWE Championship. Give it to the man already. This is a very slim chance, but I kind of feel like down the road, Cody Rhodes could be revealed as the one who attacked Jacob Fatu. I feel like the seed was kind of planted with Cody getting himself disqualified against Drew, which is completely uncharacteristic of him. Yeah, there is definitely going to be a whodunit storyline, who attacked Jacob Fatu, and a lot of people are pointing the finger at Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes did act, like you said, rather uncharacteristically of himself to get himself disqualified against Drew McIntyre, and a lot of people, including the commentary, pointed out just how evil his eyes looked, how unnatural he looked, and maybe that unnatural look might be leaning towards a Cody Rhodes heel turn. I know that a lot of people are thinking that way. I still don't see it, but hell, at this point, after John Cena turned heel, anything and everyone is fair game to turn heel. This is the perfect example of the quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover." We all thought that this run will be a waste of time, but not gonna lie, this was the best mid-card run of the last 5 years after Gunther's. This guy, Sammy, deserves all the flowers, so thank you, Sammy. Yeah, I was at the front of the line along with many people who were just simply confused with the decision to give Sami Zayn the United States Championship. Not because I don't want to see Sami Zayn hold a championship, but because I thought that we were going to see Sami Zayn hold a bigger championship because his motivations were the World Heavyweight Championship, and then he left Raw and then goes to SmackDown and then forgets about the World Heavyweight Championship and decides to focus on the US Championship. It seemed like an uncharacteristic drop-off for Sami Zayn. Although I thought that the decision to give him the championship was weird, I never doubted that Sami Zayn would have a good reign with the championship. And after they demonstrated that Sami Zayn was going to take over the Open Challenge, and they demonstrated right off the rip how good those Open Challenge matches are going to be, I knew we were in for a treat. If you watch a video that I made in mid-September ranking current championship reigns, Sami Zayn was like 2 weeks into his championship reign, and I already qualified it as great. This is going to be a championship reign that gets romanticized for a long time. Similar to John Cena's Open Challenge, it's going to be a long time before a mid-card feels this special, because let's not forget, not only were the matches good, but this was actively the best and sometimes the only good thing of episodes of Friday Night SmackDown. Like, SmackDown was carried by Sami Zayn in the Open Challenge there for quite a while. Teeth on the ground and all, this is one of the most graphic on-purpose moments in WWE as of recent, and I'm all in for it. Well, it's the only way to do it, right? Because Jacob Fatu is a dude that no-sells finishers, right? He gets hit with an RKO and then he gets up and does his little shake. You can't just write him off because somebody threw a scaffolding at him. You had to really create a nasty visual to make you believe that the attack was vicious enough to take out a Jacob Fatu for months, because that's what we're expecting him to be out for. It's not a small injury from what we're told. Apparently, this is something that will keep him out deep into 2026. So you have to really create a nasty visual to make it believable that this attack could take out Jacob Fatu for as long as it's going going to. Did you catch me? I got some screen time. Yes, I saw the Oil Up Santi sign front and center on this episode of Friday Night SmackDown. You want to know what's funny? This guy brought two signs, an Oil Up Santi sign and Paige Come Home sign, former WWE Divas champion, now known as Saraya, who was in AEW, and some people wanted to come back to the WWE. Well, I guess one of the producers went up to him and wanted to take his sign away. They took the Paige sign and allowed him to keep holding up the Oil Up Santi sign. But I guess, thank you for bringing a sign, but can we like bring a sign that said like, "Hi Santi, how are you? How's your day going? Hopefully you're doing okay." Why does it always have to be about me oiling up? Nick said that Shinsuke deserves his rematch for the US title, so I would imagine he's next in line for a title shot. I really hope that they put ILJA and Shinsuke on Saturday night's main event card instead of the SmackDown before, because that match will feed families for weeks. That would be nice. I obviously am pessimistic in the thought and the belief that they're actually going to put the US title on Saturday night's main event, considering Sami Zayn was a great champion and didn't even get to sniff a PLE during his championship reign. But I do think that there would be something special about a returning ILJA Dragunov, who's a champion, who feels like a star, and a Shinsuke Nakamura who's gone back to his old gimmick, his old look, his old entrance theme. I think that that would be a match made in heaven, and I would personally, hit my mic, would love to see that at Saturday night's main event, but let's face it, it's probably going to be on SmackDown. With Julia versus Tiffany being hinted at, I really hope that they give the US title the spotlight it so desperately needs. There is no one to help it give it the spotlight, unfortunately, right now on Friday Night SmackDown. It's basically just a division that is only the champion. The champion, Julia, is the entirety of the Women's United States Championship division, which is why they're having her go after a different champion of a different division in Tiffany Stratton. I do think that being in the ring with Tiffany Stratton, feuding with Tiffany Stratton, even if the US Championship isn't on the line, should by default, because it's giving the US Championship more screen time and it's putting it alongside a WWE champion, it should make it feel more important. But again, if you want to make it even more important, then eventually the match that they should do is title versus title, because it tells the world, hey, the US Championship is valuable enough for Tiffany to put up her championship on the line. I know that that's unrealistic in terms of like what a regular person would do, but it is fictional writing. You can do it. Come on, ChatGPT, you know what to do. Title for title, Julia versus Tiffany Stratton, book it. SmackDown needs to have 1 or 2 tag matches every episode to keep the division alive and so that every tag team can have some screen time every week. We haven't seen Los Garza in weeks, and Pretty Deadly is nowhere to be found. By the way, great match from Motor City Machine Guns and Los Garza. I'd co-sign this if they're gonna give us like a 10-minute speed demon awesome tag team match every single week with a different variation of SmackDown tag teams that aren't necessarily in the SmackDown Tag Team Championship hunt, like maybe next week doing DIY versus Fraxium. I'm down for that. To me, these fast-paced, high-octane tag team matches are great palate cleansers. Obviously, it keeps the tag team division relevant, but it also gives us that jolt of energy going into the second hour of Friday Night SmackDown. I think like strategically having these tag team matches is just simply a good idea. The rumored finish initially to Cody versus Drew at WrestlePalooza was Randy accidentally costing Cody the title, but it was allegedly changed on the day. Maybe that's what happens now at Saturday night's main event or Survivor Series now that we're past Crown Jewel. Here's what's funny. I thought they were going to do this finish on this episode of Friday Night SmackDown, but I do see it now happening on Saturday night's main event or Survivor Series. When I initially read the story that was the original finish for WrestlePalooza, I literally put my hands on my head and screamed, why wouldn't you just do that? That is so much better. Maybe they won't do that anymore because it's kind of already been leaked and the world knows about it and the world's kind of expecting it, but I'd still like to see it. To be honest, one of these 3 teams should be next for Charlexa. Well, yeah, these are basically like the only 3 active tag teams. You can throw in the Judgment Day if you want to as well, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. And funnily enough, all 4 of them are on the complete opposite show as your actual women's tag team champions. The women's tag team champions are on a show that doesn't have any active women's tag teams. So yeah, I agree with you. Throw them over on Monday Night Raw and have them feuding with these active women's tag teams that are currently on Raw. Yeah, they look good, but it should have been them. It does kind of feel like they took Karrion Kross to a junkyard and just kind of took all of the pieces that they wanted of him, released the scraps, and took what they wanted and gave it to other people on the main roster, like giving the whole turning other people to the dark side shtick to Bo Dallas, and now the hot goth couple to Aleister Black and Zelina Vega. We've been wrong assuming the War Games will be Avengers versus The Vision. I believe that it will be MFT versus an assortment of baby faces. My guess is ILJA, Sammy, Phoenix, LA Knight, and maybe Jimmy. Faces will have the quote, "will they work together" trope as they will argue over the US title. I think you might be onto something. I think the easiest choice is MFT versus the Wyatt Six. I don't think that they're going to be doing something with The Vision after the implosion, but I see where you're coming from. I think if anything, it would be MFT versus Sami Zayn and all of the people that he's had matches with in this open challenge. That can be the likes of course, ILJA Dragunov, Shinsuke Nakamura. Rey Fenix was out there for a little while, and maybe you can throw in like Javon Evans or Carmelo Hayes in there as well. I think that you could make that the War Games match, and that would be fun. A mid-card War Games match, while again also opening up the card for main eventers to not be stuck in a War Games match. I'm down for that. And it's also a great way to get a lot of mid-carders who typically can't get on these shows on the show in one single match. We can finally get this epic match on SmackDown for the US title. I know that you put Rey Fenix in the picture, but you could literally just like replace Rey Fenix with like 30 dudes, and it would still make sense as a submission here to Hot Takes. Because pretty much anything with ILJA Dragunov is a dream match that I want to see. Something about the commentary tonight had me out of my seat the whole show. I've always said that Vic Joseph was the next Michael Cole, but putting him next to Corey Graves made him his own star. I'd love to see him calling more of SmackDown and maybe even have Booker join them. I think we could do without Booker T. Booker T is an acquired taste. I think Booker T is best served for NXT for those that are willing to have an acquired taste. But this commentary duo was genuinely fantastic. I could see them being the lead commentary duo moving forward in a world where, let's say, Michael Cole retires at the end of this year. I would love for WWE to lean on these two because I thought that they were utterly fantastic on this episode and made so many moments feel truly special. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.